And welcome back, everybody. It's the second part of our show, our first show on Real Speaks, and we're going to go into some other controversial topics now. The month of June is Gay Pride Month, or to be more politically correct, I guess, is the LGBTQ plus Pride Month. And we're just going to cover some news stories here from the alternative perspective. Because it's kind of out there everywhere, all over the place. And we just want to say that it's tough talking about these topics because, especially if you're a Christian or a follower of the teachings of Christ and the Bible and all of that, people just automatically assume that the minute you say anything about anything gay, that you're doing hate speech and that you're a bigot. And so there's been a lot of that propaganda flung around. But the truth of the matter is that we just simply want to be able to tell you about what's going on in the world around these topics. So I want to actually start off with just describing what happened with YouTube. Okay, we're going to start there with YouTube. Back in March, YouTube started doing some serious censorship. What had happened was these three or four giant advertisers, they pulled like millions of dollars of advertising dollars from YouTube under the auspices by saying that they didn't want their ads to be up against anybody else's videos that included hate speech. Okay, so that's how they framed the whole situation. As the result of that, YouTube started, I guess we'll say, cracking down on YouTube channels across the board. But let me tell you what really happened. Okay, that's like the official story, is that, we're going to clean up YouTube and we don't want any hate speech here. But what really happened is that while many channels were demonetized. You remember when this was happening, right?
That's it. Channels were demonetized for having alternative views that didn't fit the narrative.
I mean, the censorship, like the axe came down in such a way, and it was really something to watch. We had YouTubers that were making like heartbreaking videos about how much they love their channel and now they're going to have to go off of YouTube. We had people getting demonetized. A lot of people were actually earning a full-time living and just being able to make enough money off of YouTube ad revenue in order to, pay their bills and feed their family. And these are people that have built up their channel over many years with hundreds of thousands of subscribers. All different kinds of things happen. What we paid attention to, though, is that there are a whole bunch of Christian YouTube channels. And when I say that, I don't mean that they're all ministries. These are just channels that report on news articles that happen, and they have a Christian perspective. Now, all of these channels were hit really hard, and they all started putting out videos on YouTube saying, YouTube is censoring me, they're dropping my subscribers, all different kinds of things happen. And by the way, I just put out a video on one of my other YouTube channels, the Hope Girl YouTube channel, basically saying that, YouTube has been censoring me and I'm going to have to move because we're getting flagged. And something else that's coming out too is that YouTube is actually sending notifications to your subscribers, telling your subscribers that you may be a scam channel. That's the new thing that YouTube is doing. So the list of YouTubers, and most of these are Christian, that are being censored is The Vigilant Christian, Call for an Uprising, SGT Report, Richie from Boston, Face Like the Sun, Philly Ministries, and Timothy Alberino, who I think had like an entire channel deleted.
Well, I mean, censored, but also if we talk about having their ad revenue stream cut, I mean, there's many more.
Right. And, some of these people are really upset, and they're very, very vocal about it. Check out Vigilant Christian, my friend Vigilant Christian over there, and he's very passionate about a lot of the things that he talks about, and he's done some really big videos on this, and just one recently where he talks about how it's very, very unfair that because what YouTube is doing is they're censoring a Christian perspective, but YouTube has this thing called a spotlight, right? Which is what they put this video on Spotlight, and they basically put it in everybody's face. So because it is, Gay Transgender Pride Month, the video that they are promoting, which I will play about maybe 1 minute of, is called Proud to Be. And there are many videos commenting on Proud to Be.
We've been taught that silence would save us, but it won't.
I can't live my life straight because you're straight. I can't. I just gotta live my life for me and do it for me because this is my life.
I've done my hair down, I've worn the dresses, I've done things that aren't natural to me to please other people.
I was told to wipe off my makeup and be a boy. What they should have told me was to be myself.
If other people aren't comfortable, that is not your problem. That is their problem.
All right, we're going to stop that there. So here's my initial reaction when I saw that, right? It's like, and here's the thing. I have a lot of friends who are gay and family members and things like that, right? So they don't act like that. What is that? Well, you know, this like flaunting sex in your face thing. That's the thing I have a problem with. And here's the thing. We're not alone, right? Yeah. If you're Christian or you're not Christian, you have different belief systems, people do not appreciate this forceful sexual agenda being pushed in their face.
Being pushed in your face, being shoved down your throat, being everywhere, you know, everywhere you walk around. Not only must it be put in your eyes, in your eye gates, but you have to, you're supposed to accept it now? Well,
I've got a couple of really intense articles that have happened in the last couple of weeks about this agenda, and I really want to keep calling it that. It is an agenda. That's exactly what this is. It's not about being gay or going through that stuff, and we'll go into that in another video, like off to the side, and we'll do some stuff there. But for now, we're just talking about this agenda. Just a few weeks ago, I was talking to someone who is gay who doesn't like this agenda either. They say that, you know, you shouldn't be shoving this thing in people's faces. And there are statistics where it's like between 1% and 3% of the population actually identifies as being gay or transgender. So it's everywhere, it's all over the place, and most people, the other 97 or 99% of the people, just don't appreciate it at this point. So let's look at a couple of really racy things that have been happening around this agenda because of Gay Pride Month. By the way, just for fun, let's take a look at what happens if you type in to Google Gay Pride Month. Look at all the rainbows, right? I mean, it's like Google is completely just supporting this and pushing this. So that's why we started out by saying, what is Google and YouTube censoring? What are they cutting out? What perspectives are they not allowing to be out there? But then they're putting this in the forefront. All right, this story actually came out last month in May. But I think it was in preparation for the Gay Pride Month. And this is a story, the Drag Queen Story Hour for toddlers at a public library is lauded as fantastic and great. A lot of people have done some videos about this story with their opinions. We'll leave our opinions out of this one. We'll just tell you that they now have men dressing up as drag queens with lots of makeup and really, you know, colorful costumes. And they're reading books to children about being gay, about being transgendered, about like this one is about a book called Worm Loves Worm. The book's description reveals that when a worm meets a special worm, they fall in love, and you know what happens next. They get married, but their friends want to know who will wear the dress and who will wear the tux. The answer is it doesn't matter. The description reads, because worm loves worm. And this comes from a drag queen. I wonder if this is the one. The name of the drag queen is Hot Mess, Little Hot Mess. Yeah. All right. So this is a very controversial story. This is the kind of stuff that's happening right now. And a lot of them are saying, you know, Little Hot Mess stands up and asks everybody who wants to be a drag queen when they grow up, and they do a little dance. The hips on the drag queen go swish, swish, swish. So The parents are responding saying, "Oh, it was great, it was fun, she had so much energy," and they're trying to show that people are responding very positively, but this is what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Okay, so Canada.
Yeah, there you go.
Canada, what is up with Canada?
Mm-hmm.
There are 2 stories that have come out from Canada. The first one came out a couple of weeks ago. And basically, they just passed a new law that is allowing the government to take people's children away if your child decides that they want to be transgender and they want to transition and get surgery and change their body, and you as a parent don't allow them to do it. They're actually calling that child abuse. So this is the article here. New Ontario law enables government to seize children from parents opposing gender transition. The Minister of Children and Youth Services, who introduced the bill, said earlier this year that a parent's failure to recognize and support a child's gender self-identification is a form of child abuse, and a child in these circumstances should be removed from the situation and placed into protection. So we definitely, I won't go through the whole article, but this is a real article. This is what's really happening. We're living in that world where they call evil good and good evil, and everything is flipped around. We're talking about children, toddlers, young children, not adults, not if as long as they're consenting adults. These are kids. So if your kid gets influenced by going to drag queen story hour, or what other kinds of propaganda that they might have out there, and then all of a sudden, the kid comes home and says, "Mommy, Daddy, I want to go have sex change," and you say, "That's crazy. I'm not going to let you do it," then no, you're going to lose your kid. You're going to lose your kid over that in Canada. And we actually were speaking to somebody that we knew who was talking about how governments and in some cases some military is actually paying for these operations to happen. So they're making it easier and easier for people to go through these operations and change their sex.
Yeah, that's the only way something like this can thrive with 3%, 1 to 3% of the population having that kind of inclination is if it's top down. It has to be granted. Right.
And here's the thing that bothers me about that. There are people with other medical needs that their lives are in danger and they need some kind of medical coverage to pay for life-changing surgery, and they don't get it covered.
No.
They don't get the money to pay for it. They just have to go through life with that injury or whatever it might be. I mean, so it's a very backward situation. And rounding out our gay transgender agenda part of our news hour here, this one just came out a couple of days ago, and people have been talking about it. This is again in Canada. So Canada, what's going on with Canada?
Yeah.
The CBC says that children seeing nude men at a pride or gay pride is a good discussion opportunity. This article is really scary. So they have all these small kids going to this pride thing, and there's actually some people that had they went there with Facebook cameras and they took all these different videos where they were showing that people are they're naked and they're doing all these like sexual things and they're grinding, and it's basically like this big sex thing with all kinds of nudity, and they have these small children and they're encouraging them to bring your kids to watch all this sexuality and nudity at this event because it's a good discussion piece. It's a good way to start the conversation. I mean, listen to just the first couple of lines of this article. Remember when parents didn't think it was a good idea for their children to see other naked adults? Yeah, that was back when people were closed-minded and homophobic. Now pride events across the country featured simulated sex acts, public nudity, and a wide variety of other weird fetishes, and Canada's public broadcaster, funded by the taxpayers, published a helpful list of tips for getting parents and their kids talking. So
I think the taxpayer-funded operation says it all.
Right. So what we need to do is we need to make the connection between all of this sexual activity, and it's out there, and there's nothing private anymore, there's nothing sacred anymore, and it's like, and we're involving these kids. And then on the other side of things, we've got these massive pedophile rings controlling everything,
Right.
and child sacrifices, and make the connection. There's a connection here. It's not one thing has nothing to do with the other.
So what do you think the consequences are of having children that by default in themselves wouldn't be introduced into sex until a much later age, have them have that in their consciousness at such an early age? What are the consequences of that, knowing that as a Christian there is a split between the physical, carnal, sexual self and that of the higher spiritual realm?
Well, I think the consequences are dire. On a more superficial level, we do know, statistically speaking, that children that are sexually abused at a young age, a lot of them grow up to do sexual abuse. Mm-hmm. They continue it. Mm-hmm. They continue the behavior. And it just gets worse. On a deeper or more spiritual level, we actually have some stuff that we can talk about in a further presentation off to the side where we're looking at society that is on the verge of collapsing. Yeah. This is one of the many symptoms when you've got sexuality and children happening this way, diabolical evil going on. And I mean, look at the.
It's a well-defined phenomenon within sociology.
Yeah, right before the collapse of a society, this kind of stuff is what you see. We're going to dip into some of the New Age circles for just a moment. Yeah. If you know a little bit about my background, I used to really follow these groups a lot. I kind of came out of them and came back to God and my faith in Christ. But I do still know a lot of people that are involved in them, and I'm watching them very closely because there are some things that are going on. And I was just telling Tavon earlier today, because he and I have been watching these amazing movies that we'll talk about in a second, where it's talking about aliens. Mm-hmm. And in order to learn about things like aliens and CERN and all that stuff, we've got a lot of New Age circles that form, and they talk about aliens from a certain perspective. Tavon and I do not agree with the perspective, but we don't disagree with some of the information. These things are real. These aliens and these entities are real. They're really happening. And why don't you just for a moment tell our listeners a little bit about these True Legends movies that we've been watching, and also some of the Trey Smith films, and like how it kind of turned your perspective to understand the nature of some of these entities.
Okay, well, I guess I've always had an interest about giants and aliens, right? This is like exopolitics type stuff. Mm-hmm. I used to watch the George Norrie, or listen to George Norrie, and Art Bell and Jeff Rentz. We're talking like in the late 90s, early 2000s. So I've always had an interest in this, but it wasn't until the past year or so I started watching Trey Smith videos where I saw a fresh new perspective for me on tying in the evidence that has been rediscovered from the fossil record, from skeletons that are deviate tremendously from normal human beings, and placed within the biblical narrative. And when I look at the total of the evidence that was presented in the Trey Smith videos that I encourage everyone to look at, for me, it's the evidence. It's the most consistent story that for me, and I was really amazed, because it put me on this journey of looking at what else has been dug up that was hidden for a period of time, or rediscovered, or someone else on the side of the planet digs up a similar artifact or skeleton or sets of skeletons and to find that all these cultures actually aren't so different when it comes to, in the ancient stories, having the same account, and that account is in sync with the biblical account of what happened in pre-flood civilizations all around the world, different continents, supposedly different tribes. And for me, that pretty much sealed us. Okay, well, there's a common story, and the only thing that I'm aware of that consistently explains this were the things that, to be honest with you, when I was younger, I thought the Bible, a lot of these things were just like allegory or myth or stories.
Yeah.
And
yeah, me too.
And in the past, for me, in the past year, past 18 months, it's like, at least in Genesis, it's literal. It is literal. The descriptions of the behaviors of these supposed giants and fallen beings, and that story of how these beings lived is consistent, and that is what's being covered up, and that is what's being exposed in the Legends series.
Yeah, True Legends, which was it's been put out by Steve Quayle,
Steve Quayle,
Tim Alvarino, Tom Horn
and
is
Tom
in
Horn,
them.
yeah.
It's Gen 6 Productions.
Yes.
We're going to be promoting their stuff. We don't know these guys. We really want to know you guys. If you're listening, we think you're fantastic. We've bought all your movies. We watch them on repeat. Same thing with Trey Smith. I was writing for the Trey Smith God in a Nutshell blog as well. I've bought all his movies. I've been watching them on repeat. We love this material.
The delivery of the evidence, of the information, and the professionals that are interviewed.
Yeah, it's really.
These are real professionals who really know their stuff in their field in archaeology.
It's mind blowing on a level that the stuff that I listen to in any of the New Age circles, you can't compare it. You can't compare it.
You can't compare it because especially beforehand, it was UFOs and aliens and when are they coming?
Right.
And a lot of graphics, a lot of artwork, right? In these shows. But the narrative is always kind of murky, and there's mystery, and what's in that base down there, over there? What's in that secure base?
Chasing mysteries is actually a term that you talk about, T.
Yes.
When we talk about some of these, the New Age doctrines that are floating around out there, it's about constantly chasing a mystery. But when you look at some of the biblical perspectives of these things, it's actually, you're not chasing anymore.
No, the narrative is very consistent. In fact, I think this is my opinion. There has been, so I think society has been conditioned to, if something is too straightforward, at least as far as the consistent timeline of events and the who, what, where, why is answered, that actually shuts people off. People want to be able to go off the rails and find something that is different than what is being told directly. But the thing is that the narrative that has happened, that is being dug up and is proven by evidence, that's the thing. If it's one thing if you have two different stories, and in both stories you're chasing mysteries, and it's always murky, someone's interpretation of something is different from someone else's. But when one story is backed up by real evidence, tangible proof. Bones. Quite, let's be honest, bones, right?
Show us the bones.
Hey, if it's good for CSI and forensics.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's good here too. Around the world, cultures telling the same story about these beings. Around the world, talking about blood sacrifices, the mutilation of women and children, and the consumption of human flesh. Around the world, the size, the look, the type of the giants, and the different deviations and mutations that happen around the world, in addition to the biblical flood, then if you go off those rails, yes, you'll be chasing mysteries. And there are a lot of secret societies that would love for you to chase a mystery. But my opinion is that this story, because of its truthfulness in the evidence, in the fossil record, is there. That's why it has to be covered up by places like the Smithsonian, is because it's right there in your face. And what we ask the audience to do is to look at these films like True Legends, like the Trey Smith movies that he has. Go onto his YouTube channel, but if you want, look up movies that he's done like Nephilim, Noah.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that compare the evidence that they show in these films of the numerous skeletons, and look for an alien, a movie documentary about aliens, and see how many skeletons you find. And see if that skeleton actually has a story. Because this is how you start to blow apart the whole alien narrative of whether that artifact is fake or not, versus I'll be honest with you, the piles of giant bones that are dug up in places like Sardinia by the farmers,
Mm-hmm.
who, quite frankly, couldn't cultivate a field without a giant femur popping up out of the ground.
Yeah.
You know, why isn't that being covered more widely than it should be? This is a common heritage for humanity, this narrative that has been covered up till now. So I'm very excited about real disclosure and not of the alien kind.
Now, what we're going to try to do, and it's going to take the series of these shows. When we're going to bring up story after story after story. We're going to do side reports as well, where we walk people through an understanding of Genesis 6, the story of the giants, the story of the fallen angels, what these beings really are, showing you all the skeletons, all the proof, all the things we've been digging up, and sharing all these different films with you so you can go on your own journey of understanding. What I do want to say, though, is that while I was in the New Age circles, I was not paying any attention to these truthful stories. I did not know about the giants unless they were told to me by a person who was trying to tell me that aliens created people and that they came from these other planets. This extraterrestrial interstellar travel is another issue as well, because we're finding that a lot of these beings are real and they actually come from here.
Yes.
From under the ground.
Although that doesn't dismiss the technology, though.
But I refused to look at any of these stories because they were Christian, and I didn't believe in the Christian religion, right? And so the religion thing, it's like people say, no, I'm not going to look at it because it's religion, and I'm not going to look at it. But I want to encourage people, because I noticed that the Christians don't look at some of the New Age circles and what the narratives are closely enough. And the New Age circles certainly don't look at some of the Christian circles and what the narratives are there as well. Because if we were to compare some notes, all of us on all sides would have a much better idea. So, as far as Tavon and I are concerned, we definitely see that there is a agenda, a disclosure agenda. They are pushing very much to try to disclose aliens. Now, this disclosure is being pushed by the Vatican, by the elite, by the Luciferians. They are the ones that are trying to condition the public into accepting that aliens are going to be living among us very soon.
Now here's the mind screw. If the whole concept of the alien narrative is anti-religious, why would the likes of the Vatican push it?
Yeah, that's another show for another day.
I don't know. So it's just a question to put out there.
But it's a good question, and it's got a long, deep answer. However, we just want to show you a few articles that came out recently about this, and we're going to cover some of the, a tiny bit of the drama and the sagas that are going on in the New Age circles, just so that you can get an idea as to what people that have that belief system are talking about right now, what's important to them while all these other things are going on. Okay, so just real quick, we've seen lots of this, but this is kind of recent, just came out a couple days ago, and this basically is saying that Anonymous just came out with a statement telling everybody, saying that NASA is about to announce evidence of alien life. Now, T, how do you feel about NASA? What's your feelings on NASA?
I think I agree with Richard Hoagland on this never a straight answer.
Well, Well said. Well said. So you can just see, here's one thing, they're preparing the people.
Yeah.
They're preparing us. Get ready. Disclosure is coming. And people that don't understand what it is are all like celebrating. Like, yay, we want disclosure. But like in the words of Trey Smith, the shadow people are not your friends. So we don't know what's coming, and we're not sitting around going yay, because something is coming. That's for sure. Okay, so this is one shot. We'll give you some more shots in a second. This is a 3-fingered, 3-toed alien, alleged, that was found, unearthed in Nazca, Peru. Now, it's got the elongated head, it's got the alien eyes, it's looking very alien-like. I'll just kind of bop around the video a little bit. This is coming from Gaia TV, Gaia.com. Right, let's see, we can get a better close-up of its face. Right, they're looking at it. So I'm just kind of bopping around the video here. They're looking at it, they're x-raying it. They're all see how perfectly preserved it is, right? So they're saying that it's an alien. And if you're listening to the podcast of this, it's kind of it has your quintessential alien look. It's got the weird eyes, it's got the long fingers and everything else. Now here's the problem. Here's the problem with this, right? I want you to just take note of who's putting this story out. It's Gaia TV, or Gaiam. Used to be Gaiam, now they're Gaia. Gaia TV is putting this out. Take a note of who that is, because we're going to get into them in a little bit. The problem is that this story is being promoted by this guy, Jamie Maussan from Mexico. Right? They say here that he's an award-winning TV investigative journalist. But if you dig a little bit deeper into this guy is responsible for a known hoax that happened a little while ago. Let's go look that up.
I have to say something. Well,
go.
I have to say something while we're digging up the other article. Is that alien with the 3 fingers? That must really suck to be an alien with a big head and high IQ and be born with 3 fingers and no thumbs.
No opposable thumbs.
Try holding a fork or some kind of tool with 3 fingers. Anyway, I'm just a thought.
No, that's a really good thought. That's a really good thought.
Long 3 fingers.
All right, so if you don't know who Jamie Maussan is, as they say, he's an award-winning TV investigative journalist. Unfortunately, he was already busted for making fake aliens. Do you remember this guy? It was like a demon fairy. This was out there like a couple years ago. And what was this? This is an interesting article. There's a bunch of them. You can like Google this, but this is from Doubtful News, and it says, "Hope dashed for those who believed in demon fairies." It's a picture of this like little fairy thing. It's tiny. It's like, how many inches? Like 6-7 inches long, and it's got these like petrified wings, and it looks like a little mummy body of a fairy. But it's been actually proved out to be a hoax. And if you go to this article here, you will find a video from Skywatch TV, and basically L.A. Marzulli, who has done tremendous work.
Yeah.
Right? He's done tremendous work in the field. He's been doing this for a long time.
With the giant skulls.
With giant skulls. He travels. He does research. He does a lot of coverage on UFOs. He's very respected in his field. He's written all kinds of books.
Yes.
So he got his hands on this thing, and he thought that it was real.
Yeah.
And through further investigation, he discovered that it was a hoax.
Yes.
And that James Maussan actually made it up. It's actually, in this article, it's saying that Maussan was also involved. Yeah, listen to this. It's saying in this article, the story goes back 3 years and involves a notorious hoaxer, Jamie Maussan from Mexico, known as Mexico's foremost ufologist. He's been involved in hoax alien photos, the Roswell slides, the Metapec creature, and more. So this guy's been at it for a while. And he put this thing together. It was a hoax. It was a fake alien body. And L.A. Marzulli thought that it was real because he brought it to professionals, and the professionals said, "Oh, it looks real to me." And so he kind of went with it for a little while until he realized that it was actually made up and the whole thing was a hoax. And he was angry. He was really, really upset. Richie from Boston just did a video on this talking about this guy.
Yeah.
And that's how I found this information. But, and, you know, L.A. Marzulli has a Christian perspective. He wasn't always that way.
Yeah.
He started off, you know, not believing, but then he came into it and said, you know,
Yeah.
and he's got some really fascinating stuff too. So that's one story. Now, I want to move forward into some more stuff that's going on in this particular arena. So we just saw that was Gaia TV that put that out. And, you know, there is another article out there, Collective Evolution is running with this story, right? They're putting it everywhere. There's a new age perspective on it saying, oh, it's aliens, and a lot of people think that they're benevolent and they're coming to save us, and, you know, it's coming from a known, proven hoaxer. And it's out there right now, and Gaia is promoting it, and they're getting lots of views and lots of attention from it, and it's put out there as a very serious documentary, but it's not real. That's the problem. There are real alien bodies.
Yeah.
And when I say alien, I mean creatures that
are not of this world.
Yeah, they're not of this world or this dimension. They're non-human. Whether or not they come from Venus, we don't know, but it's like there are real things, but these are actual made up, constructed bodies that look very real and convincing. So Gaia just got involved in something recently as well. Over the last couple of years, Gaia has had all these different shows. I used to have a subscription to Gaia TV before they changed to Gaia. I watched all their shows on there. I was a big fan of people like David Wilcock, and I, you know, read his articles, and I was following all of that. And then he brought on Corey Goode, and Corey Goode had the Secret Space program, and that got like a ton of traffic. And Corey Goode came up with this story that he was a whistleblower, part of a secret space program, and he was on the inside, and he had contact with extraterrestrials and aliens, and one of them was known as the Blue Avians. If you follow any of this is old news to you because this has been out for a while. If you haven't heard of any of these people, that's okay. I'm just telling you what's been going on in these circles. But Corey Goode came out on Gaia TV in these half-hour shows with David Wilcock disclosing these long stories. He never showed anything that would prove it. There was no bones. There was no hard evidence. It was just his testimony, his story. And every now and then they would throw like a drawing up. So we would see a drawing of
the cartoon drawing.
A cartoon drawing, Blue Avian, which was supposedly
with a crew cut.
For just so you know, okay, nothing against Corey or even David Wilcock, or even Gaia TV for that matter. But as soon as we saw Birdman, we call him Birdman, right? The Blue Avian.
He's Birdman.
We kind of lost faith in that even back then, and he's been an ongoing private joke in our household. Oh God. Sorry, guys. Sorry if you took him seriously, but a lot of people had a really hard time.
What, Birdman? What did you say?
Oh, God.
Flashes the Vulcan sign?
Oh, no. The Birdman. Oh, no. He's holding up like this, like Vulcan fingers or something, right?
Yeah.
No, the Illuminati, the Illuminati sign.
The Luciferian finger gesture.
Luciferian finger gesture. Oh, gosh. So I just want people to know that this got really big in the internet circles, and the view counts were through the roof, and there was all kinds of stuff. And we want to go back to what we said in the beginning of our show about how when you make up a story, you bring in a lot of money. Just like Veritas was talking about with CNN. And when CNN made up the Russia story, they made millions during that time. Yeah. So I don't know how much was made, but I do want to just kind of paraphrase what's been going on in that world real quick with Corey Goode, because last month there was the Contact in the Desert, which is a big New Age UFO conference that happens every year in Sedona, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And I haven't gone to it, but I actually have met a lot of the people that speak at those conferences, and I was friendly with them and stuff. So it's a big event, and people go to these conferences, and it's like, they get their big rush of the new disclosure information about what's going on. And I actually, like I said, one of the people that was with Corey, I knew him very well because he was here in Morocco for a while. So, kind of a little connected to all that stuff. Well, something happened at that conference because things just kind of like went in a different direction. So just before the conference or during the conference, another person in the New Age circles came out against Corey Goode, basically saying that he made everything up. His stories aren't true. He's, trying to discredit him. And there was there's been a big fight. Okay, I'm not going to go into the details about who said what. And the reason why I'm not going into those details is because everybody else has. There are literally dozens, if not hundreds, of videos on YouTube of people giving their opinion whether Corey Goode is telling the truth or if he's not, or if it's real, and if you're attacking him or not attacking him. So I'm not going to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to get into that because the reason why I'm bringing it up is so I want people to know that while these other things are going on in the world, this is what the New Age circles are talking about.
Yeah.
Right? Corey Goode and Birdman. And there's one guy, he did this dark journalist interview, or he was trying to make it really fancy looking and saying that Corey Goode did it all for marketing. He did it all for marketing so he could make lots of money and all that other stuff. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he did, and I still don't have anything against Corey Goode. He does hit on some true information.
Okay. Also, look, we understand the marketing angle, especially if you're running an online business, and especially if it's media related. Who's not doing marketing, right? That's part of business. So, yeah, okay.
This is not to vilify marketing
and
saying marketing bad, corporate bad. But that's what a lot of the New Age circles will say.
And it is very competitive in that circle too, with UFOs and that whole thing. There's a lot of people who become famous and have almost like a certain brand around the mystique, around the story. So yeah, we understand how that whole thing goes.
Yes. So without giving you, opinions about whether we believe Corey Goode or not believe Corey Goode, I'd love to talk to him, to be honest with you. Yeah. So, Corey, if you ever want to talk, we'd love to talk to you. We're open to that. Yeah. I don't completely agree with all of your theories and stories. We have a different belief system. However, Corey did mention in one of his interviews that when he was being attacked by bad aliens that he used the name of Jesus to get them to leave him alone, which is
that's an interesting testimony from him.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So I would like to talk to him more about that because he has a Christian background and an upbringing there, so that would be interesting. But at the same time, I think that if you look at some of the work that Tavon and I have put together, especially Tavon and his personal experience, we've done things about gang stalking, V2K, targeted individuals, and the weapons and technology that they have to put voices in people's heads and make people think certain things, and it's been quite a ride. So we think that Corey is probably, in some cases, a victim of some of these things, and and he's got a lot of really good information around that stuff that we can agree with as far as the government programs that are hurting people.
Yes.
His Birdman story is something we can't really go with, but Corey, we'd love to talk to you.
Sure.
I want to end this by talking about this marketing thing a little bit, because I do want to disclose something here. Just so that people know. In the beginning, we said that CNN made millions of dollars because of the Veritas video that came out. He said that they were making millions of dollars by creating a fake story and putting it out there. I want to show you one story that happened a while back. Okay, this is a story that is a rare gem for me. There is a New Age website and series of movies called Spirit Science that you might have seen. It has this little cartoon character, and they're talking about all these different New Age doctrines. Well, the co-founder of that New Age website, which was huge, they also had, Spirit Science and Metaphysics blog. It was a blog and a Facebook group, and they had millions of views, very big.
Yeah.
The co-founder renounced all of it and had a personal experience with Jesus and came out with a testimony where he said Jesus showed up and showed him that it was all nonsense and to turn his life around. And he did turn his life around, and he was 28 years old, this young guy. I think he's made it onto the 700 Club for some interviews. Like, his story is really out there.
Yeah.
His name's Stephen Barncars. And I saw his testimony, which you can see on his website, where he tells you that he started writing New Age articles. He started writing all these stories and New Age articles on a blog, and he started making tons of money on ad revenue. That's how they make money. In some cases, was ad revenue and YouTube videos. And the more clicks you get, the more money you make, and they make lots and lots of money. And he said, I made enough money where I had this lifestyle, and he showed a picture of a fancy sports car that he bought in cash with all his money, and he bought this giant house. He had this great big, huge house that he bought with his ad revenue. And when he had his personal experience with Jesus, he got rid of it all. He says, I got rid of my stupid house, I got rid of my stupid car, because it just wasn't important to him, and he just went on a totally different spiritual path. And he's put together this blog that's called Reasons for Jesus, and he used the same audience that used to be the New Age crowd that was following the Spirit Science, and he just kept the same page and renamed it.
Yeah.
So there's all of these New Agers that are now getting these articles written by him, and there's some really great stuff. It's called Apologetics on here, where they're talking about different religions and comparing them, and they're well-researched, well-thought-out articles, and I just really want to highlight this guy.
Very fascinating story.
Yeah. But the reason why this is one story, it's an old one. You can see the date is September 7th, 2016. This is a story where he's basically talking about shutting down his old blog. And in his old blog, he is disclosing how much money he was making. So I just want to read this one. This is his testimony, by the way, which made me cry. First time I heard it, it was really moving. So he's talking about his decisions to shut everything down. Right, but then he starts disclosing some stuff here. He says that by contrast, he was making an average of over $40,000 a month as a New Age blogger off ad revenue. He says that he doesn't say this to boast in my past life, but to address the claim that many have said that in some kind of that this is some kind of business tactic for me, that I'm doing this as in leaving, to advance myself in the world or something. He's saying it's cost me everything and has resulted in the most intense form of persecution I have ever experienced. Ever had thousands of people declaring you're nuts, mocking you, telling you to kill yourself? It can get insane, but ironically, it's actually fulfilling the prophecy of Jesus that we will be hated by all men for his name's sake. So I'll stop it there. You can go read this article. Of course, I'll link it. But I wanted to bring this out because this shows that there is a lot of money to be made in marketing, in making up stories, in publishing, made up stories on New Age blogs. So with all the accusations floating around the whole Corey Goode thing and Gaia TV and the fake alien and the hoax, there's a lot of clickbait happening there.
It's pro-agenda.
It's very pro-agenda.
If it's pro-agenda, then these opportunities can be afforded to you for you to spread the script. And it continues to this day. Now the agenda seems to be getting more and more aggressive, more abrasive, more in your face. But for those who are willing to push that agenda along, these opportunities are promised.
Yeah, it certainly is. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining us for our first show. And we're going to come at you every week with a collection of our research and our stories. And we're just going to present the different stories. And we encourage you to comment. We encourage you to write to us.
Yeah, that's right.
Give us comments. Ask us questions. Let us know what you think. Of course, be nice to one another. We're not going to be supportive of trolling comments or anything like that. But let us know what you think and get involved.
We're open for friendly debate. These are just our opinions, how we see the world at the moment, and that's it.
Until next time, this is Real Speaks.
Until next time.
See you later, everybody.
Goodbye.